Hello, my name is Reiner. I'm from grade 11th A. And right now I'm going to be narrating the narrative text that I have made titled Through Peter's Pond. Once there was a young man. His name was Peter. He lives in a crowded, dull and gloomy city. He worked in a factory as one of the employees that works behind a cubicle office. However, Peter realized that there's no communication or any kinds of interaction between any of the other employees. So he thought it is a boring life in the city with so many cycles of works that he can't even enjoy and pressure from the superior that might make him lost his sanity. So one time, when he was working in his cubicle office, he remembered one thing. Back when he was little, before his grandfather died, he was given a letter that he can only open after he is in a dire need of a change and lost sight of what matters more in life. So, passionately, he opened the letter and then he find out that his grandfather his grandfather had left him a farm located in Rantepao, Tanah Toraja, South Sulawesi. Then Peter went in. Peter really excited about that thing, so he put a resignation file to his superior and then he went home. So he drove home, he started packing, and then he booked a flight to Tanah Toraja. It was his flight was he arrived to Toraja after 2 hours, and then it arrived in at Toraja airport, and then he took a bus to get to his farm. After tens of kilometers away, he arrived to the bus stop. Earlier, he has informed that he has informed to the mayor of the town that he would come. So by the time he arrived, the mayor, which is Mr. Robin, has already been there to greet him along with his partner, his wife, Mrs. Nancy. He said, hello, Mr. Peter. We've been expecting you for a really long time ago, for years to be exact, and we're really excited for your arrival. Please allow us to guide you to your farm. I'm Mr. Robin, by the way, and this is my wife, Mrs. Nancy. Thus began the conversation between the three of them. Thus began the conversation between the three of them. And then the mayor said, Peter, the farm is not far away from here. However, please don't put so much expectation on it, because the farm might not look as good as it was when it was left. But don't you be worried about it. I'm really sure that you can clean it up in no time. Then they kept walking until they arrived to the farm. Just like the mayor said, the farm is really in a condition of abandoned farm. There's so much wild, overgrown plants everywhere and dirty stuff around every corner of the farm. They kept walking until they reached the corner of the farm. There's a cottage made to be resembling the Torajan traditional house, Tongkonan. And beside the house, there is a pond, a large pond with fishes and plants inside of it. However, Peter is more focused on the house itself because he think like there's something about this house that is so creepy. The wooden beams that make up the house has already rotten and had holes, so that's what making Peter to be feeling so creepy about it, and he looked in horror to the house, not being able to imagining he would live inside the house alone by himself. The Mrs. Ningsi, who looked at who looked at Peter's face, said, "Don't you worry about it, dear. It's just a minor damage, and I am a carp- a car- sorry, I am a carpenter of the town, so I can help you to fix it by the next morning. And about that hose, yeah, we will help to fix it. Although, well, I want to say that there's not much that we can expect from a house that has been abandoned for years, right? It's been like about 1.5 decades, if I'm not wrong," comment Mr. Snitsy. So Peter looked inside of the house, and he thought to himself, well, I guess it's not as bad as it looks from the outside. You can pretty much see that the inside of the house can still be a little bit more cozy and fun. So he go back to the outside and looked at both of the mayor and his wife, and then he said, "Thank you for guiding me to here. Probably I will enjoying the next few hours today to adapt to this place. So thank you." And then the mayor replied, You're welcome, Peter. Um, you're welcome, Peter. It is actually our job to be doing this for you. It is our job to guide you to your farm. And actually, we are really happy that you're back because business is running again. The farm is running on business again, thanks to you. That's when they separate, the mayor with his wife going back to the town to attend their own affairs. Meanwhile, Peter take care, no. And then Peter um, unpack all his stuff and then put his clothes into the wardrobe, etc. And then by the afternoon, Peter decided that he wanted to like socialize a bit with the neighborhood. So he go to the town, and then he made a new friend named Ernie. So they had a little bit of talk until they realized that they were both new to that place. Ernie just arrived to that place like 2 days ago, and Peter just arrived that day. So they become a closer friend because they found similarity between both of them, because they're from outside and they don't know much about stuff in Toraja. And Ernie sometimes, not sometimes, but a lot of times go to Peter's farm and helps him to like plant things and then clean some of the things here and there to help improve the farm. One day, Ernie was just cleaning was cleaning a pool in the farm, the pond besides the house. And then when she was doing that, she accidentally like slipped and then tripped over. She has tried to scream and dodge, but that's just only making her fell even more in terrible way. So she fell into the pond and then drowned. However, before she uh, fell into the pool, she screamed. So after she drowned, Peter heard the scream from a very distance. So when Peter heard the scream, he immediately running towards the pool and then looking for Ernie. He asked, "Ernie, where are you? I'm..." But when Peter looked around, he cannot even see Ernie in anywhere around the farm. He thought to himself, maybe it's just like misheard, right? He thought to himself about that like that. But then he heard another scream from Ernie coming from the pond, and he think like, is she drowned? But when Peter looked at the look inside the pond, he can only saw fishes and plants. There's nothing much inside the pool. the pond. But then one more time, Peter heard Ernie's voice. This time, he can clearly hear her. He can clearly hear that Ernie is calling for help. So that's when Peter decided to jump inside the pond, because probably Ernie is inside the pond. But it looks a little shallow from the outside to look inside the pond. It looks a little bit shallow. That's why Peter don't really believe that um, that Ernie is inside the pond. But when he got inside the pond, somehow Peter can feel like he was swimming inside a really huge pool. In fact, it feels like swimming in the ocean. He kept running to find the bottom. Probably Ernie is at the bottom at this point, but he cannot find anything. He can't reach the bottom of that thing. So he immediately realized that he started to lose his breath. So he decided to go back to the surface. He swam back to catch some more breath, and then when he got to the top, to the surface again, he realized that he was no longer in his farm. In fact, he is already in a very strange place. He find himself that he was on a riverbank, that he looked around and he found a boat. So he looked at the boat and then he ride on it. So he decided that he wanted to explore the land, because even after he arrived to the riverbank, he's still not being able to see where Ernie was. So he ride on the boat and then he started to explore the river. And then in the middle of his way, he found something strange, a land. It's quite huge, and it is a forest. It was a forest, and it catch to Peter's attention that the plants, the trees, and every other thing in there is so huge, so much giant trees, that he think maybe Ernie is um, in the in the forest. So he stopped there, and then he got inside the forest, and then he looked up to all the plants, all those giant plants, and then he don't really look to the bottom of his foot. So he accidentally stepped on a stem, quite a huge stem, but a stem of one of the huge plants, right? So when he accidentally stepped on it, the plant releases a strange liquid, and the liquid melt every other object that's around it, even the plant itself. So Peter is really scared of that thing, and he tried to run away, but all the other plants block his way to go to any other direction. So when he almost lost hope, he looked at some point when he saw the liquids melting a melting a collection of leaves that's covering a tunnel. So when the tunnel is finally wide open, he immediately jumped into the tunnel, and then, well, he thought to himself, finally he was saved. Like, there's no longer liquid around him, and his first problem on the island has been like solved. Now it is a new time for Peter to actually look around and then find his way out, because because the forest that he has been on before has been melting, right, because of the plant. And now inside the tunnel he saw writings and drawings of humans, and inside the the tunnels, after he saw all the writings and drawings, he came to the conclusion that people were living in that place. There's people alive in that place. So Peter kept walking to find the end of the tunnel, and then finally he spot a light on the by the end of the tunnel. So he walking towards the light and hoping that he can finally, well, free from the tunnel. So after he arrived to the light, he found himself standing on a very amazing hill, and the view of that place is really amazing. He is really amazed by all the amazing mountains, hills, and rivers. It is so beautiful, but it is not as beautiful as Peter expected, because from his back, from his back, there's a monster, a terrifying monster crawling, and then grabbed Peter from his back, and then Peter uh, he pulled Peter and trying to drag him into a hole under the earth. Peter is really scared at the moment. He thought he's about to die, and he screamed really, really loudly, asking for help. He screamed, and then it catch the attention of the people who lived in that place. So by the time he almost got inside the hole, a man come towards him and then help Peter. He drew a sword and stabbed the monster, the hideous monster, and then the monster died. Peter thanks the man, and then he leads him to a village. So that man lives with his group in a village, and after that moment of help, after that moment, the man leads Peter to the village to maybe help him with some injury, right? So on the way, Peter can already see the village, and after he arrived, he saw that the village is really beautiful. There's so much people who live in harmony, and there's children playing, there's farms, animals such as cows, sheep, pigs, chickens, and any other animals. And he is really happy to be seeing that view. It feels so calm, not like the life he used to live in the city. And far away, nearby a well, he spotted some young girls who is sitting there and playing with the children of the village. But Peter looked at that view and felt like the face of the girl is slightly familiar. Probably I know her from somewhere. So he walked towards the girl and then realized that it is Ernie. It is in fact Ernie, his friend that he's been looking for this whole time. So he asked Ernie, how are you doing? Are you okay? Like, I've been searching for you in everywhere, and I am really scared about your condition. I thought you were gone. But then Ernie replied, "Yeah, Peter, I am all right, thanks to these people in this village. Actually, I am injured and cannot walk for days, but these people have saved me and leads me to this village." But then one thing that catch Peter's attention is that when Ernie said she has been lifted for days, so he was like, "Days? Ernie, you were only gone for about an hour." That's when both of them fell into the a huge confusion. And then the chief of the village came towards them, and then he said, "That's the mystery of this place, my friend. Times just passes by differently in here. Welcome to the hidden land of Toraja, and welcome to the hidden land of Toraja." And he said, "It is the hidden land that is really mysterious, you can pretty much says, because it can only be it is only accessible through one specific gate from your world, a pond in Rantepao. And then Peter noticed about that sentence, and then he replied, "In Rantepao, you said." "Well, I live there." "Ah, it explains basically everything. Oh, I understand it now. Well, I'm grateful. I really am, because right now I find that my friend is still alive and safe here with you. So thank you, mister, and all the other village in this place who has helped us." And the man replied, "You're welcome. Friend, you can stay here if you want." But Peter replied, "It's okay, sir. You don't need to. I actually wanted to go home. I'm starting a new life right now, back in my village. I'm trying to start a farm life, and I'm still learning because I used to live in the city." "Oh," the man replied. "Oh, that is really great. But then let us thank you. Let us thank you then, because our group will be going on an adventure in 2 days. In the meantime, we can help you to learn some few basic things from us about farming. It's going to be really fun." Thus, Peter and Ernie stayed for 2 more days in the village. They learned so much things about farming, started from planting seeds and then harvesting them, and then they learn how to take care of the animals. They learn how to do foraging. They learn how to do fishing. It was such a an experience that they really enjoyed. And imperceptibly, 2 days have passed, and then it is time for them to go back home. The man, the chief of the village, then asked them to prepare themselves. So they started packing, and then the groups started their adventure. They first lead Peter and Ernie to a forest, where in the forest, um, uh, it looks exactly like the first forest that Peter had met. All the plants is really giant in size, and then they got to the center of the forest. Peter this whole time has been holding his fear, because a little bit of trauma, because he almost got melted by one of the plants. But this time he survived, and they reached the center of the forest, where there is a pond. The pond looked exactly like the pond in in Peter's farm. So when they arrived to the the pond, the chief asked them to close their eyes. So they both closed their eyes, and then the people of the group started to sing. The group started to sing a traditional Toraja song, a really famous one in Toraja, called Tho Me Pare. Tho Me Pare. They started to sing the song together in harmony, and then Peter and Harry and Peter and Ernie can feel the atmosphere change. So slowly, the voices of the people who sings the song started to slowly disappear, and the atmosphere changed. When the voices completely changed, when the voices finally completely disappeared, they opened their eyes. When they did it, they looked around and then found themselves no longer in the forest, but they are already in in Peter's farm, precisely in the just beside the pond. And then they looked at each other and felt confused, as it feels like the experience that they just have gone through is just like a dream and has never been happened and has never happened. So um, up until today, the mystery of the pond in Peter's farm is still remains a mystery, and no one has figured out anything about that pond and the hidden land, because uh, Peter and Ernie has decided to stop talk about it. They believe that it was better to just keep quiet about it and then move on with their lives, because deep down in their heart they knew that there's just something about Torajan that is so unique. They just knew that that it has so much secret. They really do. They really knew it. The end.